Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. I hope you guys have had a good week or so. The international breaks, I think it is as soon as you have a major international tournament, the international breaks for like September, October, November, I don't care about them. I don't want to know about it. I'm still kind of seething about England losing a Euros final, Cole Palmer coming off the bench, scoring a goal, but never starting a game. Like, we should have had a trophy. Do you know what I mean? So all we're looking forward to is the return of our Chelsea. And this weekend it happens away at Leicester City in the Premier League on Saturday. We're going to be back with a live stream. I'm potentially going to be in this room and not the GBFC office. I'm staying in a pretty nice hotel actually right now in Thailand, which is obviously really close to where I live. So it's kind of city break-esque kind of behaviour. In today's Chelsea news video though, we've got a few stories. We're going to talk about a Bournemouth centre-back that Chelsea are fighting with Spurs and Manchester City for. We're also going to talk about Chelsea's position within the chasing of Viktor Gyökeres, the Sporting Lisbon Swedish striker. We're also going to talk about some news again from a pretty dodgy source, but we're going to talk about Bryan Mbeumo, who Harry, in the podcast, the 3 More Points podcast, has brought up this option. I thought it was lunacy. We're now seeing some reports on this. And then there's also some Chelsea interest in a couple of players from Barcelona. And then we'll finish with some news about Cesare Casadei. But let's start first of all. Chelsea, Tottenham and Manchester City are considering moves for Bournemouth centre-back Ilya Zabani. Zabani is the Ukrainian 22-year-old centre-back who signed for Bournemouth from Dynamo Kiev. I think it was the 22-23 season. He's obviously very young. This season, he's had a big part to play in the Premier League. He's doing very well. Chelsea, when it comes to buying a centre-back, let's talk about where we're at right now with the centre-backs at the club. Wesley Fofana, I think in terms of the way he's come back from injury, he's growing into this team. Levi Colwill has been the standout centre-back so far. But I also think there is an element here of which of these two centre-backs do you try and find a partner for? I think Fofana and Colwill as a combination is absolutely something that will improve. It will absolutely grow. I think as the confidence builds between the two of them, and also you've got to remember, Moises Caicedo and the way that he is becoming just such an all-round gem of a midfielder protects the centre-backs even more. So for me, it's about figuring out, are we going to be buying someone to go with Colwill or someone to go with Fofana? And having another young centre-back, you've also got to remember Anselmino, the guy that we bought from Boca Juniors, who is the young Argentinian centre-back who's going to be joining next year. It's not as if Chelsea need to have more and more and more youngsters. I feel as though we've just needed to pick which one of those two centre-backs we're going to back and find them a partner, if that isn't the combination already. So I can understand why Chelsea would be interested here in Zabani. I think that's the correct way to pronounce his name. Could have absolutely butchered it, but he's playing a lot this season. He's nearly up to 1,000 minutes in the Premier League already for Bournemouth this season, and Bournemouth are a side who you look at, and there's a lot of players there at Bournemouth. Even Milos Kerkez, I think, Chelsea, the left-back. Chelsea were interested in him in the summer, and he's having a brilliant season too. So I think Chelsea, as much as we've done a lot of good scouting, we've identified some good talents and some good players, we're also going to be looking at your Brightons, as we've done now for many years, Bournemouths as well, Brentfords, these teams that are actually really stable right now in the Premier League, got good managers, good systems, developing their squads so that they can take it to the next level. Chelsea will be looking to poach some of these kind of players, and whether you think it's right or wrong, I don't really care. I think at this point, Chelsea, we do need reinforcements at the back, but I'm going to say the priority needs to be leadership and experience, because I think that is what this back line is struggling with right now. I think individually, everyone is good. I think Wesley Fofana is a top centre-back, could be really, really good. Some said he might end up being one of the best in the world or the best centre-back in the world. Huge claims. Injuries have held that back. For Levi Colwill, we've absolutely got a Rolls-Royce defender here. I've always known it. You guys have always said the same. And let's see, I guess, what happens with Chelsea. We're fighting with Spurs and Man City for the Bournemouth centre-half. Now, Chelsea have positioned themselves strongly in the race for Viktor Gyökeres as they look to add the out-and-out striker they've been lacking in recent years. Now, I saw Football Therapy do a video about this. He was talking about what striker he thinks Chelsea need, which ones does he want personally. The more we see of Viktor Gyökeres, it's the more headlines he gets, because quite frankly, with some players, they can have these like purple patches of form. They burst out, some of the media will jump on it, maybe not all of the media. But when you've been scoring goals consistently the way that this man has, you basically become impossible to ignore. The record speaks for itself. You look at the way that Sporting Lisbon have played. Ruben Amorim has had a big say in this, and now he's gone to Manchester United. Viktor Gyökeres, for me, will absolutely be a player that if Chelsea are interested, great, but Man United are absolutely going to be there as well. They're absolutely 110% going to be in the race for this striker. Take it back to last summer. Victor Osimhen, transfer deadline day. Chelsea were really close. We knew that Osimhen in the end did kind of want the move, but then it was about the money. Then we had this kind of like mental exercise that was, well, did we dodge the bullet with Victor Osimhen? Is he all about the money? Ends up going to Galatasary, doesn't sign for a club in Saudi Arabia. So he's not exactly just directly following the paycheck, but then what we're seeing at Galatasary from Victor Osimhen is just that he is the complete all-round striker that many were thinking, is it just the functional Napoli side that make this guy look good? Or is he the real deal? He's scoring ridiculous goals for his country. He's scoring ridiculous goals for Galatasaray. And hell, he's burying 2 in the Europa League against Chelsea's nemesis rivals, Tottenham Hotspur. So I'm looking at these options and I'm like, well, the whole story of, there's not really top strikers available anymore. That's no longer the case. The question is, which one is the right one for Chelsea? And right now, if I was to pick between Victor Osimhen and Viktor Gyökeres, it's the battle of the victors, really. It absolutely is. Viktor Gyökeres just does score so many goals. And it's kind of like Erling Haaland amounts of goals, but you've also got to take into consideration that this is being played in Portugal. Sporting are one of the best sides in Portugal. Yes, it's a competitive league. But obviously now that they don't have Amorim, let's see how his goal scoring is affected. Will the team still be able to function the same way, where his role is just to convert chances and score goals? I think with both players, you've got players that can score the type of goals that right now, Chelsea don't have a player that I'm fully convinced can do that. The conversation that we had in the previous video on this channel was about Christopher Nkunku. And when I spoke about Nkunku, I talked about how we've made some really good signings. We've got some world-class players, but Nkunku is only a world-class player when he's played in the correct system, in the correct position. What Chelsea need is an out-and-out number 9 striker. We've seen it so many times. We still keep putting the ball in the box. We don't have very much natural height in this side, so when we're buying Bernardo Cueva from Brentford, the set-piece coach, and we're spending £1 million on a set-piece coach and being like, right, you're going to be a main part of this squad, a main part of the coaching of this network of players, but yet we don't even have players that are tall enough to be able to compete against the average Premier League defence. You know what I mean? Chelsea have got to look at these like specialised processes that we're putting into place, but realise that you can't just buy all of these little niche talents and expect them all to fit in. Chelsea probably didn't expect Palmer to be that out-and-out guaranteed behind the striker player in the middle because they thought that was going to be Nkunku and thought that Palmer was the gamble for the future. Turns out Palmer's the answer for now, and the future of Nkunku is very much like, Nicholas Jackson, was he even a striker? Now we've pretty much confirmed that he is. Builds upon what was a good first season, improves upon what was a good first season but needed improving, but yet still, you can't rely on Nkunku to be the backup for Jackson because Maresca doesn't even see him as a striker. I don't see him as a striker. And loads of people that I watch and value their opinions also don't see him as a striker. So Chelsea will have to be in the market for a striker. It's like, no matter which way you try and unpack this, you just know that Chelsea are going to be in the market. And if we are really serious, we're in the market for a goalkeeper and we're in the market for a top striker. We sign a top goalkeeper and we sign a top striker, and I think Chelsea are in the conversation for honours, not just being in pole position like we are right now, to finish in the top 4, to challenge for the top 4 and be in that driving seat. I think a top goalkeeper and a top striker is the difference. Viktor Gyökeres, what do I think is going to happen? Realistically, I think he goes and follows Amorim to Manchester United. I think that just makes a lot of sense. And Victor Osimhen to Chelsea. I think whether it's in January or not remains to be seen. Osimhen apparently has said to Galatasary, look, I said I'd stay with you for the season. I'll stay with you for the season. We know he's not going to extend at Napoli. There's no future for him there. They're top of the league. Lukaku's doing well. Conte doesn't want him. So Chelsea will end up with, I think, one of these two. If we don't, then I've got some questions about how serious we are. Nicholas Jackson's doing more than okay. Mark Guiu's not at the level yet, and Nkunku's not a striker. We've got to solve that issue, but like, Felix is also not a striker. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many half answers right now at Chelsea. And if we'd have just like used that money and just bought one of these top dog strikers, like, we wouldn't be in a position where we're kind of still like somehow unhappy with the profiling of the squad that we have, even though we've got so many talented footballers, so many good players. But anyway, let's move into the next option, which again, this comes from Fish Agé. I can never say the name properly, but it's a Spanish news outlet that aren't necessarily known for having the most reputable, accurate information. But we are in November. January's not far away. It's only a month and 11 days away. Chelsea want to try and sign Bryan Mbeumo in the next transfer window and are ready to offer 60 million euros for the Brentford striker. Look, this is the same kind of price bracket as what it would take to buy a Gyökeres or a Victor Osimhen. I don't think Bryan Mbeumo is a bad player. I think, in fact, he's one of those underrated Premier League talents who, if he might be playing in a better side than Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, they've got a good manager, they're very well organised, they do their thing, and Mbeumo's just been delivering now for quite some time. If you put that into like a team with better players, maybe like an even more functioning side that create more chances, like, how many goals would Bryan Mbeumo score for Chelsea? And I really want to know what you guys think about this in the comments, because I'm not just chasing after a big name when I say that I want an Osimhen or a Gyökeres. For me, it's about the types of goals they score, the way that Chelsea still try and put the ball in the positions for a big guy to absolutely dominate in the air and score a header, or a player to be running the channels and then have someone like a Palmer to find the pass and then Gyökeres runs on and finishes it. That's the kind of level that I've put myself at when I'm like, Chelsea want a number 9, that's what we want. With Bryan Mbeumo, how many goals do you think he scores in this Chelsea team? And does he get into this side? Or is it another one of those 60 million euros for a player that's like kind of going to be half there, half not? Is he going to feature? Is he not going to feature? Does it stop this guy getting minutes or that guy developing? Like, there's so many questions right now that we could have about this Chelsea team. And I just hope when it comes to the priorities of the recruitment team now, I think you look at the squad and you're like, this is a really talented squad. We've got some really good players here. And the way to develop it further is to pick and pinpoint the weaknesses. Goalkeeper, we need a flipping decent keeper. It's as simple as that. And the striker, yeah, we probably do, because Nkunku's not a striker. So is it Maresca adapting the system to fit in the personnel that we've got, to find a plan B or find something different that means that we're winning more games than we're drawing or losing, which, you know, we've had quite a lot of draws recently. We want to convert those to wins if we're really serious about finishing in the top 4. So that is the big question mark over what Chelsea do next. There's also a lot of talks about potential defenders, and we know that Maresca likes players that can play kind of in different positions across the back line, hence Malo Gusto and James this season. Whilst keeping tabs on Jules Koundé, Chelsea are also continuing to monitor Ronald Araujo, whose long-term future at Barca remains in doubt. You remember Jules Koundé? It was like one of those Chelsea transfer stories that we could rely on for content here on GBFC. For a couple of transfer windows, we were always interested in Jules Koundé from Barcelona. Ronald Araujo is another one of interest. When you look at how functional Barcelona have been this season, like, they are back. Barcelona are back. And I think players right now that are involved in that environment, you're looking at them and you're thinking, well, they're going to bring a winning mentality to Chelsea Football Club. I think both Koundé and Araujo are quality players. I also love Araujo from Benfica. I think there's options for Chelsea. But I think if we're going to spend on a centre-back, and these players that we're talking about today, Koundé, Araujo, they're not going to be cheap, right? So I'm thinking, if we're going to do this, I think we need some height at the back, first of all, which Jules Koundé doesn't bring you that. I don't think we need another player like that. I think Fofana's already pretty good at stepping up. We saw against Arsenal, Fofana was progressing up the field, carrying the ball further with confidence. I like that. But from a centre-half right now, I think it needs to be a direct upgrade on one of them, depending on who Maresca picks. I think he loves both defenders. I don't even think necessarily we have to sign a starting centre-back. Maybe Fofana and Cole will continue to develop. I think they're doing okay together. It's just not perfect. But I definitely think when it comes to like how that back line is being dragged down, the majority of it is on the goalie. 70% of it, for me, in my opinion, is on the goalie, let alone the defensive positional mistakes that we've made so far this season. But we're trying a new system, new manager, we're playing an expansive way. Like, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what the right answer is. But anyway, we're going to finish this video off with the small news right now that Real Betis are expected to step up their bid to sign Chelsea midfielder Cesare Casadei on loan in January. The only reason why I think this is even worthy right now is because I've got a big question. If you're going to loan Cesare Casadei, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall has done nothing so far in a Chelsea shirt. That's a whatever signing right now. Chukwuemeka cannot get a look in. I think Chukwuemeka is a better player than Cesare Casadei. Chelsea are going to probably try and sell Chukwuemeka, which is why he's been nowhere near the team, because we don't want him to get injured, so that we prevent ourselves from making that money when we try and sell him in January. So how on earth do Chelsea expect, if there's an injury to both either Lavia, Enzo or Caicedo, how can you loan Casadei out? That's honestly what I'm genuinely thinking here. How is it possible? Unless we recall Andre Santos, but I don't even know if we can recall Santos from his loan at Strasbourg right now. I think loaning Casadei, based on what we know about how Maresca's not using Chukwuemeka, I think it's a bit risky right now. Even though I'm not entirely convinced by Casadei either, to be quite honest. I'm not. I'm really not convinced by him. Don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a good little player, but like, I think Chelsea have got to be careful in this upcoming transfer window. I don't want us to just go and just spend big again with no real thought behind it. I think one or two signings in positions to strengthen us and make us immediately better, I think absolutely gets us top four. And that's what we need to be looking at, so that next window, next summer, Maresca can look at this team and be like, well, to go from third or fourth to winning the league is going to look like this. And then you just back him. You just back him as long as the finances allow for it. You give him what he wants then, because to get top four this season for Chelsea and win us the Conference League would be an unbelievable first season for Enzo Maresca. But anyway, going to wrap this video up for you guys now. I'm going to head out today and enjoy some Thai street food. If you want to see my vlog channel that I do have, where I post like sporadically, but there's still videos going up there with my girlfriend, the channel link is in the description. I'll put it as a card on the screen. We're going to go and do some like fun, flipping Thailand stuff. You know what's good here. And get out there and film it. So stay tuned for that as well. Subscribe to GBFC if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Come on, you Blues.